So what is London Runs? Well, basically it's a side project that I've taken on because I run around London every morning or afternoon or evening, depending on when I've decided to head out. And it's always an amazing experience. And I thought, let's film it. Content's going to be there and I can talk through some of the experiences for myself and for others. On the right here, we've got the WatchHouse. It's a really fantastic coffee shop. This situation is 7 Dials, but they've got some others in various other places, Hanover Square, Somerset House, there's one in Shoreditch, but it's always a useful bet if you need a really decent coffee and some good grub. We're coming up on the left to Dishoom, which is the place where people love to queue. You wouldn't imagine it now, but at various parts of the day there is a queue pretty much to where I'm actually running up to now. I read this interesting thing a few weeks ago which explained how people tend to like queuing if they're receiving certain gifts. So they give you tea when you're in the queue here. So what it does is it convinces one that you're actually the one getting something out of the queuing experience. It's very smart and people seem to love it. I haven't highlighted here, but on the left by where the van is, there's just this gorgeous aroma which wafts through the air as you run past it in the morning of cinnamon buns. I'm a vegan, so I can't really enjoy the cinnamon buns, but the smell, particularly when you're running past it, is all the encouragement you need to burn off those calories. A bit about my running. I am a huge running enthusiast. I've played a lot of sport in my life and took up running about 5 or 6 years ago as a hobby. Done various half marathons, taken it probably too seriously or more seriously than my body would allow. So I'm coming back from an injury after running 2 back-to-back half marathons in 7 days, which was just too much for my poor little hip. So here I am on my journey back from the Royal Parks and the Oxford Half Marathon at the back end of 2022, just trying to get in those gentle kilometres or miles, depending on where you're from, and enjoying other parts of running, which is the mental freedom and catharsis that comes with getting out and having your body moving. I struggle without it. Covent Garden tube station on your right. What's really interesting about here, it's a bit of a throwback because of the lift system. There's no escalators, so it's quite indulgent if you like 20th century, tube transport. I don't, but I find that interesting. We're in Covent Garden now, working our way down to the Covent Garden Piazza, which my very, very small amount of research told me is a pretty historic marketplace, which has been going since the 1600s. So that's pretty cool. It's maybe lost a lot of that historic charm, but there are some boutique shops, restaurants all the way around there. And you also get some performers around this square, piazza. I guess it's a piazza, or that building's a piazza. What's really awesome about running through London, particularly at the moments where the sun is trying to creep above the buildings or as it's ducking back behind the buildings, is you just get a glimpse of it, and it shimmers off buildings, it shimmers in between certain passages, and you get this lovely effect. It's so nice to have these unexpected moments of gorgeous lighting which filter and stream through wherever it is that you're running. You never really know what it is you're going to get. So the light on this particular morning was unpredictable, mainly overcast, but those few glimpses are pretty gorgeous. Got the Royal Opera House on the left here, so if you're into ballet or musicals, or, well, not musicals, a bit of music which is probably held in higher regard than musicals, but who am I to say? But I went to the Nutcracker there over Christmas, and that was a really, really festive experience. So yeah, great place. I'm really sorry about the bobbing of the chest mount, which is basically holding my GoPro to my body. I need to figure out how this is going to be a bit more of a non-vomit inducing experience for the 1 or 2 people who decide to watch this. Maybe me. Maybe I'm the one who's going to rewatch this. I'll figure it out. The footage I've got from other runs I think is better. It's so tight though, I don't think I have blood flow to my arms. We've got the Lion King on the right. Haven't been, but I know people bloody love it. So check it out. I think this theatre is called the Lyceum. It's got those huge pillars out the front, which are quite impressive looking. Who knows if they're actually real or not, or just give the sense of grandeur. I mean, maybe that's what a city's all about, just to give you the sense of something. Love that feeling when you approach a road when you're running and you can just go straight across. Oh, me and that guy were on a collision course. On the left here we got Somerset House. I'm about to highlight it when we get to the top of this path. So a bit of a spoiler, but there's a wonderful WatchHouse coffee shop in the Somerset House as well. Bit larger, seems to be a lot more students there, but if you can get a seat, get a table, it's a great place to work if you have a few hours and you're not working in the office. I feel like those kind of environments and buildings just add a level of inspiration to whatever it is that you're doing day to day. Oh, fellow runner. Hello, guys. No nods there. I try my hardest to smile and nod, which I think is the etiquette. Just checking how slow I'm running. Probably feels like I'm walking at this pace. So we're heading on to the Waterloo Bridge at the moment. And one thing I didn't realise when I was having a little read around some of the landmarks and places that I run by is that this bridge is fondly called the Ladies' Bridge because it celebrates the wartime women who built it. So that's something that I've learned during my intrigue and interest in where I run past. You can see that big orb of sun just casting itself all across this bridge. This is an unbelievable bridge to run across at those moments of the sun being in between phases, as I mentioned earlier. Just gorgeous the way it lights up the buildings. I know a lot of people aren't too convinced that cities are beautiful or wonderful, but I think they do construct something which is akin to what you maybe get in nature, but just through that human story, for want of a better phrase. It's created, but it's no less awe-inspiring, I don't feel. I love running across this bridge, particularly in the mornings, because I wonder what people are thinking about me. Am I not working? Do I have a job? How am I running at 7:30 in the morning? Why am I not heading in the direction that they're going? I didn't actually expect to be talking as much as I am. I think I'm quite naive to the fact that I like to talk a lot, and given the opportunity to observe what's going on around in this video is actually making me want to speak, so I apologise. The comments are there to troll or to celebrate. Let's hope it's the latter, not the former. But if there is any feedback around what you'd like to see in these videos, because I spend so much time running around London, living there, that there's always an opportunity to capture various places. We're heading from Seven Dials to Westminster, back to Seven Dials area today. So I'm open to explore routes which are of interest to people who perhaps don't live in London and want to understand a bit more about what's en route. I'm happy to take requests, jump on a tube, go to somewhere interesting. This is part of the exploration. We're now turning onto Southbank, which runs on the south side of the Thames. I really love running along here. I often run in the other direction, up past the Tate, and end up around Tower Bridge, where I can grab breakfast as a bit of a pit stop, refuel, turn around, get the extra kilometres back in, and ready for a day of work. But on Southbank, you have the National Theatre, Southbank Centre, and it really is a bustling place. I like it because it's almost the transition location for people coming in and out of London because of its close proximity to Waterloo. So you get a lot of people moving around there, but you also get a lot of people socialising around there as well. And in the mornings, it's fairly quiet, taking up by the odd commuter this early in the morning, and also fellow runners who are often moving at faster paces than I am. Southbank Centre on the left here. You can just catch a glimpse of the London Eye, which, yes, I guess for all purposes is a bit of a cliche landmark or tourist attraction, but I think it's quite definitive of London. Can't hate on it. I don't really explore or experience or enjoy it, as I'm sure people coming into London, runners, hello, how people coming into London would enjoy it, but anything which draws attention to London, I think it's awesome. On the left here, you often get, well, not often, each Christmas you get a great festival. Market, more of a market, not too much festival activities going on. Not in my book. You can see Houses of Parliament and Big Ben over there, and a crane. On the left we got Jubilee Gardens, which again I didn't realise were in honour of Queen Elizabeth II's Silver Jubilee, so it's a bit of a sanctuary on Southbank, perfect spot to rest and admire London's beauty. I like to stand on either side of the Thames on one of the banks and look across and just see how small people are as they're moving, to and from their day. They look so small, but you can just get this sense of movement and intent. It's quite nice being detached from people this close up as you see me running by them and observe them at a distance. Paris is very similar, actually. I remember feeling the same when I was there. Maybe anywhere that's got a river. Another runner. Hello, mate. Another runner. Howdy. Don't really do too much nodding and smiling in the morning here. Maybe that is a London thing. I know London has this stereotype of being quite cold and contemplative and just concentrating on what's happening around and not really having that sense of community. I don't really experience that, but maybe it's because I go to a lot of the same places. So I get to know people and they're actually kind and sweet. And it feels like you have a bit of community, even though you're not friends, not peers, not colleagues. You're just occupying you're occupying the same moment in the same space. And so it stands to reason that you should be polite. Sea life on the left, never been. Sure, it's fantastic. And we're gonna head up here, head right onto Westminster Bridge, which apparently I'll mention it here because you can see it from this particular angle, but its green colour mirrors the House of Commons scenes, which is a subtle nod to the city's political legacy. See, I'm learning lots. Not too much depth though, very superficial knowledge this, which can only really pass when you're recording London Runs video, where the current audience is a whopping 0 and the potential audience is probably not much more than that. I think this again is another very obvious thing to showcase, but it's a natural part of the route, and the building is pretty impressive. It's quite nice when you do run by at hourly moments and you're surprised by the sound of Big Ben. It is a gorgeous chime. Another runner. I often wonder what people have got in their bags when they're running. I wanted to run a little bit to the office when I had to get a train from London, get off the train, and then a bit more of a commute. I was thinking I can run, but how would I secure my laptop and my headphones and everything else? If anyone's got any advice on how runners would secure their work tools and bits and bobs in a bag while running, let me know. I mean, as you can tell, we're not moving at a great pace here. I mean, we're struggling to catch this runner in front. We're going to head in between. Whoa, that was fun. You've got to have your wits about you, particularly on this bridge. when you get to this sort of point, it is fairly static on weekends, and if you're not running as early as I tend to be, I mean, there's still quite a few people around. Just stop in here, have a little wander, have a little look around. Yeah, look at that sun. Yeah, it's all about the sun in the mornings. And we're off. Like I say, feedback absolutely welcome on this video if you do happen across it. If you want me to shut up, I'll shut up. But as I mentioned, this is also something which I want to try and get some value from, because I just love running. I love running in London. There's something just so special about it. I can leave the flat feeling, fairly low, but the psychological growth that happens in such a small amount of time, even if it's just emotions and moods, is so significant. And watching this back, speaking about the experience of the run, kind of uplifts my spirit in the same type of way. I've been for a run this morning and I kind of felt elevated. But now looking back on this, I've got the excitement to go and run again. And anyone who runs, I'm sure you're familiar with that experience of getting back from a run and just thinking about the next run, spending time thinking about gear, watching people talking about running, and I feel like it's a good moment to participate. So don't be hasty with your feedback to say, Harrison from London runs who I don't know, please shut up, because I wouldn't want that joy to be lost too quickly. So we're in Victoria Embankment Gardens, which is a nice little cut through. It kind of makes you think for a moment that you're not running on embankment. I am. There is me confirming it. A glance to the right confirms that it is not a dream. I'm still on embankment. As you can see in the top left, I love those buildings. I can't remember what the hotel's called, which occupies some of the levels there, but a bit further on there are apartments. But we're going to be heading from these gardens into Whitehall Gardens, and it really is a little hidden oasis near the government offices, and it does offer a peaceful escape when you've got such a bustling core of London. There's some monuments and statues that sort of whisper the stories of the rich past of the city, but I don't really know what the statues are. If anyone's interested, I can go into some depth. I'm sure it's representative of certain parts of the past, positive or negative, again, not for me to say, and hard to say when you don't even know what they are. Good advice in that van. Reuse, reduce, recycle. Triple R. Alright, we're getting going again. And now we're in Whitehall Gardens. I think it is so pretty. Look at the lining of the foliage and the height and thickness of those trees to the left. And the background of the architecture, I just think such a beautiful reminder of what a city can be in combination of gardens and architecture. It does feel fairly Parisian. It doesn't really feel like London, this particular garden. But I just love it when I run through. Again, it just uplifts the spirit. I don't know what it is about it. Perhaps I need to think more deeply and carefully about why this mixture of man-made and nature occupying that space and cultivated and preserved in a way where they work together. It's beautiful to run through. Coming up to Trafalgar Square now, you can just see Nelson's column. This little stretch of road always does feel quite long at this point. It depends if you're coming to the end of the run. If it's a relatively short one like this was, around 5k, maybe 6k, you know, your mind is starting to recognize that you're finishing the run, and so you check out in a certain way. But we're going to extend it. We're going to we're going to head up Pall Mall. She set off very quickly. Very delicate pedalling there by that person. Well done. So this is the route I would usually take if I want to access St James's Park. To access St James's Park via the Mall. You can get to it on the left here, which we're not going to take in this particular run. We're going to head further up Pall Mall, and we're going to basically double back, go up Jermyn Street and head towards Piccadilly Circus and Leicester Square. But you can get to the Mall and St James's Park on the left there. Again, we're going to head further up and identify another really nice access point, which I quite enjoy. Where am I going to head? Whoa. I promise it's not as tight as it looks when I make those overtakes. There is definitely more consideration in whether I'm able to make that pass or not. So on the left here, you can also access the Mall. It's quite a nice little entrance as well, and lots of steps. So if you don't want to take the steps down, don't go that way. There's not really that many. I don't need to exaggerate. It's quite a nice little access point. One thing that, again, I didn't realise with the Mall was that it's red, and it's coloured red to give the appearance of a red carpet as it leads up to Buckingham Palace from Trafalgar Square. So again, another little bit of trivia that if it ever comes up in some game of various Trivial Pursuit, and there you go, you can say the random guy who makes very banal and dreary, boring running videos. They might get more exciting though, who knows? Particularly if I find a different type of entertainment. Perhaps comedy is, no, let's not go there. Singing? No. Maybe we'll just stick more to running, what it feels like to run. I can't talk about that for 30 minutes. The never-ending Pall Mall. So as we come to the end of this building, you'll see, well, the van's in the way, but now on the left, we're going to point it out, the Mall access here. I quite like this access. I happened down that road a few months ago, actually maybe it was last year, with a friend. We were having coffee, and actually before I go on to that, just ahead, Green Park access right ahead. That's a nice little bit of access to Green Park. I recommend that. But yeah, as I was saying, walking down this road to the entrance to the Mall that I mentioned, there was a lot of old vintage cars, I believe as part of the London to Brighton race, or it might be Brighton to London, who knows. Lots of very old cars, and again, we just happened upon it, and that's the type of serendipitous experience that you can get when you're living somewhere like London, or you're spending a lot of time somewhere like London. You can experience things without even planning to, which is quite nice. You don't have to have any really well-defined plans to be able to experience something memorable. And each day, I think, if you increase your probability of experiencing something memorable, and it doesn't have to be something crazy, I think it's always worth celebrating and trying to influence as much as possible. I think we head right here, because now when I was trying to research, I'm going to have to actually stop and walk past this statue. I have no idea what it was. I couldn't find it on Google Maps. I couldn't find any information on it in my research, so I will come back to that. But I like it. I like that little cut through. We're going to head left now, because at the top of this particular little road, if you head right, well, you can head left as well, but there's only a short amount of street left. We're on Jermyn Street. Now this is where there's some fantastic men's clothes makers like Turnbull and Asser, you can see on the left. You've got Emma Willis shirts, who I love. You've got Piccadilly Arcade on the left, which has got some great places. You've got lots of great shoe shops like Edward Green on the right that we've just passed. And actually at the bottom of here, there's a great Waterstones that I really, really like as well. Fortnum Mason on the left. If you turn left up this road that you see just before Fortnum Mason, and you turn right, I think that's the Piccadilly Road. And on the Piccadilly Road, you have, you know, some great stores as well if you just want to kind of window shop or explore. And then you can access the Royal Academy and Burlington Arcade from that road as well, and then head up towards other parts of London. Of course, I mean, you wouldn't be heading up towards other parts of Cambridge, would you, when you're in London? Crockett and Jones on the right, nice shoes. I do remember on this particular run, when I stepped out then to cross the road to get past the pedestrians, I was convinced that the person on the bike was going to collide with me, or no matter, depending on how you look at it, I was going to collide with them. There's Waterstones on the left. Again, really recommend it. Loads of floors, some wonderful books. I have an interest in philosophy, and they've got probably one of the best philosophy sections that I've seen on a high street bookstore, but maybe you couldn't consider this a high street bookstore. I don't know, but it's got a wonderful selection. I'm also a trading card fan and collector, and they had a few Pokemon trading cards in there, which surprised me because you can't really find them anywhere. Got Lily White's heading to the left, which I always remember being marketed as the largest sports store in Europe. I'm not too sure whether that's still true. So we're going to head up to Piccadilly Circus now. It's pretty much London's Times Square, and probably not repeating anything new or unique in terms of information there. Not the most memorable places in London, to be honest. Where I'm running around at the moment is, just easy access when I'm running around. What I'd like to do at some point show some of the more curious and quaint parts of London. This was just the more obvious, and I presumed that there would be a wider group of people who'd be interested in seeing someone moving at a slightly faster than walking pace around some of London's sites and getting a sense of where things maybe are. It hasn't really been a historical masterclass, but it never was intended to be, so save your judgment on that particular topic. Book of Mormon, it's a funny musical. I think created by the creators of South Park, if my memory serves correct. And we're heading to Leicester Square now, which is obviously the heart of the West End. It's pretty lively, theatres, cinemas, restaurants, all in and around here. You often get, if you're running past at certain times or at certain moments of the year, premieres for series, films which are being shown at the Odeon, or I think there's a View on the left here as well. So they pretty much take over, which is quite entertaining to see. I think they did one for the Game of Thrones series, so there was various constructions which reflected the Game of Thrones world. It was cool. I do have a yearly Odeon cinema ticket, which is very useful when you live so close access to them. There's a Odeon in Covent Garden, which it might be Shaftesbury Avenue, I can't really remember its location. It's very close to here, and they tend to show some good movies. I also quite like the bougie Selfridges cinema. These little things that move always looks like magic. So we got Leicester Square station on the right here. There's also an access point to it across this road and on the left. You can see the little sign there. And we're heading back towards Seven Dials, which I don't think I mentioned, but it is called Seven Dials because it's where 7 streets converge. I think it was designed in the 1690s and unfortunately didn't really have the vibrancy that was expected from it. It was a bit of a slum, but that's not really the case now. There's lots of shops, cafes, there's theatres as well, all that kind of split off from the sundial pillar in its heart, and it's basically straight up this road. We're heading back towards the centre of queues, Dishoom on the right, which is next to the Flickering Yards neon light on the right, and then we got the WatchHouse just up here. Now on a run like this, on this particular morning, I would stop off at the WatchHouse, grab a table, grab an espresso, grab some porridge, and get ready for the day.